Okay, so this lesson is brand new also. So we've learned slope-intercept form, we've learned standard form, and now we are going to learn point-slope form. And you could see any of the three on the EOC, so it's really important we really know what we're doing with every single type. So let's go over point-slope form. It's in the name. So point-slope form means that you are given a point, x and y, or we use x sub 1, y sub 1, and then the slope of m. So when you are given a point and the slope, then that means we're going to use the point slope formula, okay? And that formula is y, the opposite of y sub 1, equals the slope, parentheses, x, the opposite of x sub 1. And I want you to notice that I didn't say minus or minus, I said opposite, and I'm going to explain that in just a minute. So what we're going to do is we're going to be given a point and the slope, and we're going to learn how to put that into my new formula, okay? And then we're going to solve for y. So let's break it down. If I look at number 1, we're given the point and we're given the slope. So this point, x is 4 and y is 1, okay? So we're going to substitute this information into my formula. So we have y. Now, when I substitute, I always do the opposite here. Whenever I see that negative 1 or minus 1, it means the opposite. So I'm going to substitute 1 here, but it was positive, and the opposite of positive 1 is negative 1, so y minus 1. Then we substitute the slope, so the slope was 2, nothing happens there. And then x, the opposite of x, and the opposite of positive x is negative x, so it is minus 4. And the reason why I say opposite is because it's not always going to be minus minus. I just happened to get lucky here, but we're going to see some where it's not going to be that case, so stay with me throughout this video. Now that I have my number substituted, we're going to distribute and solve for y. So how do I distribute? Anytime you see a set of parentheses, distribute that number that's outside the parentheses. So I have y minus 1 equals 2 times x is 2x, 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. Then I want to solve for y by adding 1, because the inverse of subtracting is to add 1. Notice I add it to the negative 8 because I can't add it to the 2x. They're not like terms. So y equals 2x, and negative 8 plus 1 is minus 7. And there's my answer. They wanted us to convert from point slope to slope intercept. Now let's look at number 2. Here's my point, here's my slope. So my point is xy, okay? Always remember it's x then y, because when I go to substitute, I do my y first. And the opposite of positive 4 is minus 4. Then the slope, 1/2 parentheses x, and the opposite of positive 2 is minus 2 again. So again, we just happen to get lucky there, but we're going to see somewhere that's not the case. Now I distribute and then solve for y. So y minus 4 equals, distribute, 1/2 times x is 1/2 x. 1/2 times negative 2 is negative 1. Then I would add 4. Notice I'm going to add 4 to the negative 1, not the half. So y equals 1/2 x, negative 1 plus 4 is plus 3. So my answer is 1/2 x plus 3. Number 3, negative 6 is my x and 0 is the y. So when I go to substitute, y, now technically there is not opposite of 0, but you can just put plus 0 if you want, equals, I guess technically it would be minus 0, but we'll talk about that in a minute. And then my slope is 2/3 x, the opposite, now here's where it's important. The opposite of negative 6 is positive 6. So I don't put minus 6 here, I put plus 6. And that's what I mean by opposite. So keep that in mind as we still go through this. Now I'm going to distribute. So technically y minus 0 is just y, equals 2/3 times x is 2/3 x. 2/3 times positive 6 is, that's 2, is positive 4. And I didn't have to add or subtract because 0 went away. So this is my answer. Number 4, this is x, this is y. So my formula says what is the opposite of y? Right now it's -1. The opposite of -1 is to add 1. Notice it's a change there. Then my slope is -3/4, parentheses x, and the opposite of -8 is to add 8. So always think opposite. Don't think it's always going to be minus, even though I know the formula can be very deceiving. So then I distribute and then move. So -3/4 x, -3/4 times +8 is -6. Then I want to subtract 1 to get y by itself. So I have y equals -3/4 x. -6 minus 1 is -7. So watch your adding and subtracting there. Let's do a couple more. So number 5, 4 is x and -3 is y. So y and the opposite of y is -3, and the opposite of -3 is to add 3, equals the slope, which is -1, parentheses x, and then the opposite of +4 is to subtract 4. Okay, so always think the opposite when you substitute these points. Now I distribute y plus 3 equals -1 times x is -1x. -1 times -4 is to add 4. Then I would subtract 3. So y equals -1x. 4 minus 3 is +1. Okay, now you could see it written like this, but honestly they don't like to put a 1 in front of a variable, so it's actually going to be written as -x plus 1. Okay, one more of these examples. 0 is x and y is -9. So y and the opposite of -9 is to add 9, equals the slope, which was 4, parentheses x, and the opposite of 0 would technically be -0, even though it's not really a positive. So if I just put -0, it doesn't matter, because when I go to distribute, I have 4 times x is 4x, and 4 times 0 is just 0, so I'm not going to put anything there. Then I want to get y by itself, so we're going to subtract 9. So y equals 4x minus 9, because there was nothing to subtract 9 from, so it's just -9. Bring it down. And there's your answer. Okay, so when you are given a point and the slope, we use point-slope formula. When you are given 2 points, I mean, yes, there is a way to... There is a long, stressful way to take 2 points, find the slope by hand without a calculator, but we have already learned how to do linear regression. So let's recap. When I am given 2 points, 2 xy's, okay, we type these into stat, and you hit edit. And then, if there's something already there, you go delete, 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 delete. And I'm going to type my x and then my y. So x on the left, y on the right. So -3 on the left, 7 on the right, 1 on the left, and then -1 on the right. So always make sure it's set up x, y, x, y. Then we do linear regression. So that's stat over to calc, number 4, enter, 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 enter. And now we have our slope and our y-intercept. So the slope they gave me was -2, and the y-intercept they gave me was +1. There is no decimal to convert to a fraction, so I simply just put this into my equation. Y equals the slope, which is -2x, and the y-intercept is +1, so +1. And that's it. So it's definitely a shortcut to what we used to do when I was growing up, so this is the best way to do it. We're going to do it again with 2 more points. So stat, edit, delete, delete, whatever's there, delete, delete, whatever's there. So -6 on the left, on the right, -7, then go back to the left, 3 on the left, and -4 on the right. The hardest part is making sure you type it in correctly, because if you jumble these up somehow, then you're going to get a completely different answer. So then I go to stat, over to calc, number 4, enter, 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 enter. Our slope is 0.3 repeating, and our y-intercept is -5. One of those is a decimal, so we're going to need to convert that 0.3 repeating into a fraction. How I do that is you go 0.33333333333. I tell my kids all the way to the MP, and then alpha y 4, because you cannot leave it a decimal. Yes, there are times where they might want it, but 99% of the time they're going to want it converted to a fraction. So 0.3 repeating is 1/3. Then I just put my slope and y-intercept together. So y equals 1/3 x minus 5 because it was -5. Okay, let's do 2 more. Stat, edit, delete, 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 delete. Then you type in 2 on the left, -1 on the right, 4 on the left, -6 on the right. And I go to stat, over to calc, number 4, enter, 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 till it changes screens. My slope is -2.5 and my y-intercept is 4. I need to convert that -2.5 into a fraction. So, So what you would do is type in -2.5, and I don't have to do 5, 5, 5, 5, 5 because it's not repeating. So then alpha y4, and I have -5/2 as a fraction. Then I put my slope and my y-intercept together, so it's -5/2x plus 4 because it was +4. Okay, last but not least, delete, 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 -3, then to the right, -8, 2 on the left, 7 on the right. Then I go to stat, over to calc, number 4, enter, 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 enter. My slope is +3, my y-intercept is 1. Since there is no decimal, I do not have to convert, so I simply write my formula. Y equals my slope, 3x, and my y-intercept is +1, so we write +1. Okay, so you could be given point and a slope, so you use point slope formula. You could be given 2 points, which all we do is type them in my calculator and do linear regression. So there you go.